Okay, I guess we can start our Google Meet for today. So we're going to talk about the last part of your module that is on definite integration. So yung pinag-usapan natin the first two meetings, that is all about indefinite integration. Yun yung mga sagot, no? Sagot natin na laging may plus C, may plus na constant doon sa dulo ng ating sagot. Meaning yung integral, yung result after performing anti-differentiation, or we call that integration. Nag-add tayo ng C. This time, we're going to talk about another type of anti-differentiation that is called definite integration. I want to show this one. My board. Nilagay ko dito ang pinaka-basic na concept ng definite integration. So, of course, it's still all about integration. So the properties of integration or anti-differentiation, like the power rule or integration by substitution, is applicable here. We will just be adding some new concepts. When we say definite integration, pagkakita pa lang natin ng i-integrate natin, so dapat merong dx dito, no? Dx. Because our independent variable is x. The thing that is different from indefinite integration are the constants na nakikita natin na may limits ngayon yung ating integral sign. Meron tayong a at saka b. Yun yung tinatawag natin na limits of integration. Actually, yun doon lang siya na iba. Doon lang siya na iba doon sa indefinite integration. And the most simple and popular application kasi of integration is to solve for the area under the curve of that given function. So remember, no, in differentiation, meron tayong applications like we can apply them to calculate the slope of the tangent line at that specific point, mga ganun, no? Any moving object, yung rate of change, yun yung application ng differentiation, yung derivatives. Now that we are talking about integration, we start with area under curve. So this gives us a visual interpretation kung ano ba ang kino-compute ng isang integral. So meron kang function, ito yung function representation of our function, that's small letter f of x. Now, if I'm going to bound some area, kasi kung hindi ko lalagyan ng boundaries, ibig sabihin hindi rin matatapos yung area nasa baba ng curve na yon, kasi ang function naman natin ay indefinite yan to both directions for this particular function. Now, suppose I'm going to bound so that I can select a specific area under the curve. So, ito yung boundary ko na nakatapat at x equal to a. Basta number yon. Tawagin lang natin na a. And then dito naman, b, yung pangalawang boundary. So that the bounded area is actually this area, yung nilagyan ko ng lines above the x-axis din. So yung nagbabound ng area natin ay yung first, yung curves, tapos yung dalawang boundaries at saka x-axis. Now, what if our concern is to compute we want to compute exactly the area of this plane. Because remember, no, in your lower mathematics courses, ang alam nyo na lang na i-compute ay yung mga polygons, no, yung area nila, area of a triangle. Alam nyo, may formula kayo, 1/2 base times height, or depending on what is given na part ng triangle or a rectangle, that is length times width. A circle, the area is pi r squared. Ganun, no? But what if we have an irregular plane? Halimbawa ito, ano bang shape yan? Wala naman tayong napag-aralan before na paraan para eksakto na i-compute yung area niyan. Yun yung isang purpose, isang application ng integration. At yung concept na i-apply natin ngayon ay ang tinatawag natin na definite integration. Why is it definite? Because nung binound natin, naging definite na rin yung area. So yung nakikita natin actually na boundaries na ito, yung numbers dyan, so kung line yan, no, kung line yan, that is at x equal to a, at x equal to b. that could represent the limits of the integration na nakikita natin. So, meron kang function, tapos ito yung mga boundaries or yung part ng x-axis kung saan tumama yung isang vertical line na nagsisilbing boundary. And then, this is the original function. Now, how do we compute? How do we compute the area? Ang gagamitin natin na concept ay ang tinatawag na fundamental theorem of calculus. Now, in your module, I have presented the two fundamental theorem of calculus. But I want to make it, in this presentation, I just want to discuss how we compute a definite integral. Ang magagamit lang natin dyan ay yung the second fundamental theorem of calculus. At iyon ay, ano yung ibig sabihin ng, or ano yung sinasabi ng theorem na yan? Ito. This is a statement saying that if you are to integrate a function from or between two numbers from a to b, so if we read this one, integral of f of x dx from a to b, so we always start with the lower limit. We are actually to, ano yung f? That is the antiderivative of the function f. So, ang una nating gagawin is, first, to compute the antiderivative or the integral. That's the first step. Now, ano ang ibig sabihin? So, kailangan, yung antiderivative na yon, yun yung nire-represent ni capital letter F. That is an antiderivative. Yung mga steps nun, yun yung napag-usapan natin the previous meets. And then the next step, we do not just end there because we want nga to compute the area. So ang sagot natin dapat ay constant kasi area yan, no, in squared meters, ganun, or in squared units kung hindi specified yung units. So the first thing that we do after computing the antiderivative is to evaluate that antiderivative. Evaluate it by substituting b, no, at x equal to b. Anong ibig sabihin ng evaluate? Evaluate a function, isubstitute natin yung b doon sa na-compute natin na antiderivative. Gawin din natin yon sa a. So, bale, twice tayong mag-i-evaluate ng antiderivative na yon. And then, the numbers that we compute from that, isubtract natin. That number that gives us the exact area of this shaded region. So, yun yung gagawin natin if we conduct a definite integration. So, paano siya makaiba sa indefinite integration? Wala sa indefinite integration, i-apply na natin yung rules, mag-add lang tayo ng plus c. That's why our answers normally are expressions themselves. But when we are doing a definite integration, our answer should be, kasi specified, no, a and b here are real numbers. Mapa-angles yan, mapa-numbers lang na simple. Dapat constant yung sagot natin. So, let me give you an example. Concept, now, let's provide an example. F of x here, ang function natin ay negative x squared plus 4. Now, before we compute, applying this one, ipakita ko sa inyo yung graph muna ng ating function. So, ito, no? Ito lang yung tignan natin. This is the function. This is function na negative x squared plus 4. Graph yun ng first na example natin. Kapag hindi nyo makita yung sinulat ko sa board, nandito sa left part. It's negative x squared plus 4. Now, the limits here are from negative 2 to positive 2. So, ibig sabihin, under the curve, this is our curve, pero magsimula tayo. So, yung boundary natin ay at exactly x equal to negative 2 to positive 2. So, anong area yun? Just for us to visualize it easier, yan, lalagyan ko na siya ng shade. Ano ang area niyan? Kung sana circle yan or rectangle or di madali lang sana i-compute, but it's not. This is actually a parabola at gusto nating i-compute yung area na ito. Well, actually na-compute ko na dito, no? GeoGebra has the ability to compute, no? Integral of parenthesis f and then the limits from negative 2 to 2. It's giving us 10.67, but I do not want you to compute using GeoGebra. I want you to correctly compute the area by using itong fundamental theorem of calculus. So let's go back to our board. Alright. So how do we compute now? The first step is to integrate. So walang naiba kasi we are still doing an integration. Definite nga lang. So we have to integrate negative x squared, and we can do that easily using the power rule. So how do we integrate again? Negative x, you add 1 to the exponent, so that becomes 3, and then divide it by 3. Plus, we are integrating, baka mabaliktad doon sa differentiation. We have 4x, the integral is 4, the integral is 4x. This is the antiderivative. If we are doing an indefinite integration, magpa-plus C sana tayo dyan, but we are not doing that. We are doing a definite integration. So, ang gawin lang natin, ilagay pa rin natin dito yung limits natin to indicate that there are limits. We are doing a definite integration, and after taking the antiderivative, wala yung plus C, lagay na natin ang ating mga limits. Kopyahin lang natin dito. Our next step, since na-compute na natin yung f, so bali yung f na pinag-uusapan natin for this specific example is this, yung negative x cubed over 3 plus 4x. The next step is to do the evaluation. So we start with the upper limit, that's b. We do the same for the lower limit, and then we subtract. So isulat po siguro dito yung equal sign kasi medyo mahaba yata yan. So this is for f of b. So anong ibig sabihin ng f of b? I-substitute natin, ito yung b, di ba? Ito yung a. I-substitute natin yung value ng b na yan dito. So ano mangyayari? Negative, ang b natin ay 2. So 2 cube over 3 plus 4. Meron na naman tayong x, so palitan natin ng positive 2. This is the value of f of b na formula natin. Minus, we do another evaluation, but this time we evaluate the antiderivative at x equal to a, which is, in this case, negative 2. So negative 2 cube, we are following this still, over 3 plus 4 negative 2. Yan. This is the value of f of a, para lang makita natin. But of course, if we solve, hindi na natin kailangan i-indicate ang mga yan. So that our remaining job now is arithmetic. Wala na. Tapos na tayo, na-apply na natin yan, na-integrate na rin natin, simplify lang natin. So arithmetic lang na yung involved kasi lahat ay numbers na. Lahat ay numbers na yan. So how should we proceed? We have negative 8 over 3 plus 8. That's the cube of 2. Minus negative, ang cube ng negative 2 ay negative 8 over 3. 4 times negative 2, that's negative 8. So magiging minus 8 siya dito. So anong gagawin natin? Mag-LCD tayo. 3 negative 8 plus 24 minus natin yan. Gawin din natin dito 3. Magiging positive na siya, no? Magiging positive yon. So we have actually positive 8 minus 24. And then combine. Parehas na 3 naman yan. So pwede lang natin i-combine yung numerator. Negative 8 plus 24 minus 8, pero magiging plus 24 na siya kasi i-distribute pa natin yung sign na minus na yan sa gitna. So that our answer is negative, ano ba? Pwede nating calculator na yan, no? Or pwedeng 24 plus 24 ay 48. 24, 48 minus 8 minus 8 minus 16 over 3. And then for 48 minus 16 is 32. 2 over 3. Can we reduce this one? I don't think so. So since area ang pinag-uusapan natin, pag ganyan lang, no, we can actually stop here. Pero kung problem solving siya and ang tanong ay solve for the area bounded by the curves and the following. Pag ganun yung tanong, dapat lagyan natin ng squared units. I-verify nga natin kung parehas yung sagot ni GeoGebra. 32 divided by 3. What is it? It's 10.67. It's just the same. So, yung balikan natin ito, kinungkit niya, di ba? Ang sabi niya dito, 10.67. Ang 32 over 3, pag i-decimal or i-decimal form mo yan, it's 10.66666. And we prefer, of course, yung improper fraction because this is the exact answer, 32 over 3. So that is how we conduct definite integration. Sagot natin ay numero. Hindi siya expression katulad ng indefinite integration. Okay. Do you have a question? So kung wala, let me read this one and answer. Let us answer another problem. Okay. So while we are doing definite integration, habang na-master natin, we can use some shortcuts. We do not have to show everything that we mean here in the board. Let us have the next function. Simply lang ang ating next na function. It's example 2. Ang ating function ay x cube lang from 0 to 1 dx. So we are performing definite integration. First is to, of course, integrate. By power rule, the answer is x raised to 4 over 4 from 0 to 1. So isa lang naman yan, so isang term din lang yung kanyang integral. Applying the fundamental theorem of calculus, we evaluate at 1 at 0. So dalawa. We start at 1. So 1 raised to 4. 1 raised to 4 over 4 minus 0 raised to 4 over 4. So 1 raised to 4 is just 1 and then over 4. 0 na yan, no? Kasi 0 yung numerator. 1/4 yung sagot. Tingnan natin kung anong itsura ng x cube at yung area na hinahanap natin. Dahil nagsimula ako from 0 to 1, yung shaded area, yun yung kinumpute natin, no? Na 1/4. 1/4 units. Kaya 0.25. 0.25 is just the same as 1/4. Yun. So, yung purple na yan, yan yung representation ng x cube. Pero yung area, yun yung sinolve natin na definite integral. Let's have another one, square root of x. Yung mga simple muna na mga functions. Example number 3. We are to integrate square root of x dx. But ang ating limits ay from 0 to 4. 0 to 4. Okay. Ang x raised to, ang square root of x ay the same as x raised to 1/2. Power rule, pag integrate natin yan, kung 1/2 yung exponent, pag mag-add tayo ng 1, 1 in 1/2. Pero mas gusto natin na nakasulat as 3 over 2. 1 in 1/2 is the same as 3 over 2. Over 3 over 2. From 0 to 4. Pwede natin isulat to as 2/3 x raised to 3 over 2 from 0 to 4. So our next task is to evaluate because we are done anti-differentiating. So this is bali f of b, 2/3. Substitute natin yung 4 doon sa 3 over 2. That's it. Minus 2/3. I-substitute natin ngayon yung 0, 3 over 2. 0 raised to any number is 0, i-multiply mo ulit sa 2/3, alam natin na 0 yan. So actually, yung task natin ngayon is to simplify this one. So anong ibig sabihin nito? 2/3, ang number ni-raise sa fraction that is the same as square root of, bakit square root? Kasi 2 yung denominator ng exponent, 4 cube. Ano yung 4 cube? Or pwede ba natin itong i-simplify pa? Yes, this is the same as, ano yung how? Ang 4 cube, that's the same as 4 squared, no? Ang 4 squared, pwede na natin na siyang ilabas as 4. Kaya yung sagot dito ay 4 square root of 4. Alam din nating i-extract yung square root of, or sige, feeling ko mas diretso kapag kunin natin agad yung cube ng 4, which is 64. Ang square root ng 64 ay 8. So 8 na lang siya times 8. Ang sagot natin ay 16 over 3. 16 over 3. Tignan nga natin sa GeoGebra kung tama tayo. Syempre naka-decimal siya. Ang 16 over 3 ba ay kaparehas ng 5.33 na siya nilagay niya as integral? Yes, it's the same. So, ito yung function square root of x, tapos yung shaded region, yun yung kinompute natin from 0 to 4. Siyempre, mag-iiba yung sagot natin pag palitan natin yung boundaries, no? So, kunyari, from 0 to 5, makikita natin na mas malawak yung area, kaya higher number yung makukuha natin dito. Mako-compute natin. So, our next function is sine. Sine of x, ano yun? Ang ating limits ay magmumula tayo sa 0 to, actually pi ito. Palitan natin yung x-axis palitan natin yung unit ng x-axis natin into radians, no, para makita natin. Ayan. So, ang integrate natin ay, ang function natin ay sin x. Gusto nating integrate yan from 0 to pi. Ibig sabihin, itong area ang gusto nating i-compute. So, let's go back to our board. Si sin x. Example. Ano na yung example natin? Pangilan na to?
4, sir.
4. Okay. Integral of sin x dx. Okay, yes. From 0 to pi. Medyo sinasadya ko munang 0 yan para sa left part ay medyo, pero hindi kailangang 0 na naman kasi nasa trigonometric functions pala tayo. So, since ang ina-apply lang natin ay ito, let's start with simpler functions. Siyempre, kapag komplikado yan, kailangan na nating mag-apply ng substitution para lang makakuha tayo ng antiderivative at para makasubstitute tayo. That is applying fundamental theorem of calculus. From the formulas that we discussed before, what is the integral of sin x na ulit? Sin x lang naman yan. Anyone?
Negative cos x.
Negative cosine x plus c kung indefinite yan. So, tandaan natin yung signs ha. Pag sa differentiation, the derivative of sin x is positive cosine x. Pero kapag integral, negative cosine x. Tama. From 0 to pi. Adi ano na yan? Evaluation na tayo agad. Negative cosine of pi, that's f of b, minus negative cosine of 0. Ayan. Ano na yung cosine ulit? Ano yung cosine of pi? Negative cosine. But yung cosine of pi lang. Diba sa unit circle natin, alam natin yan na 0, 1, baliktad, 1, 0. 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. So kung ang angle natin ay 0, nandyan. Pero kung yung angle natin ay pi, ay din nandyan yung angle pi. So kung cosine ang tinitingnan natin yung x coordinate, di ba? Kaya kung cosine ng pi, punta tayo sa angle na pi, tapos kunin natin yung x coordinate. So negative 1. Pero kung yung angle natin ay 0, cosine pa rin naman, punta tayo sa angle na 0. Where is that? Nasa x-axis. Tapos kunin natin ulit yung x coordinate. So medyo maraming negative, no? So ang value ng cosine 0 ay 1. Kung sine yan, sine pi, dito pa rin yung angle, pero ang kukunin na natin ngayon ay yung y-coordinate. Yan lang ang ibig sabihin ng sine at cosine, di ba? Sine at saka cosine. Okay. So, that we have positive 1 lang yan, plus 1. Adi 2 lang dapat yung sagot natin. Balikan natin yon at tingnan natin kung parehas tayo ng sagot. Ayun. So, nakikita natin dito ay 2. Integral is 2 squared or 2 lang. Unitless kapag wala tayo sa problem solving. Sige. Bigay tayo ng mas komplikadong function pero definite integration pa rin. Example 5. Pag-isip ako in random. Kaya integral of the quantity x squared plus 1 raised to 5 times 2x dx from negative 1 to 1. So our first problem is to integrate. So this time, hindi na ganun kasimple. Ang pangit i-expand, no? Pwede, kaya. Binomial expansion yan, pero mas maganda kung gumamit tayo ng substitution. So, i-apply natin yung substitution, mag-let u tayo. I-compress natin yung ating function, original function. So, how do we do that again? Let's start here, investigate it here. Let's try to compress that one by taking it as just u. So, x squared plus 1. So, kung ilagay natin na u yan, magiging u raised to 5 na siya. Ang problema natin ay kung ano yung isubstitute natin sa 2x dx. Kasi hindi pwedeng ganyan na naka-x pa rin. Makukuha natin yan, makakakuha tayo ng possible na substitute for 2x dx by differentiating u. So du dx is equal to 2x. Ayun, so sakto. Ang gawin lang natin ay isulat natin as 2x dx. So cross multiplication yun. So, ang equivalent ng 2x dx ay simple lang na du. So, ginawa ko lang siyang sinadya ko siya para lang masimple ang ating presentation. Ayun. Now, under definite integration, di ba, nag-introduce tayo ng u, pero sabi natin, kailangan palitan din natin yan in terms of u, pero may third part, no? Remember pala na these are still parts of our original function. So if we do substitution, hindi pwedeng or mas maganda na dapat yung limits din natin ay malagay natin in terms of u. Because remember that the limits are negative 1 and 1 if your variable is x. But what if you change it to u? Nag-transform tayo from x to u. So lahat talaga ng parts dapat matransform din in terms of u. So how do we do that? I-substitute lang natin. If x is equal to negative 1, what is u? u is equal to negative 1 squared plus 1. This is just 1 plus 1, no? Equal to 2. If x is positive 1, because we need to look for a substitute for both negative 1 and 1. So, isolve ulit natin using this equation. So, u is equal to 1 squared plus 1. So, parehas ba? It's equal to 2 pa rin. Di nagkaparehas na. Negative 1 plus 1. So, hindi pwede, no? Hindi na siya applicable dito. Pag ganyan na, kasi ano bang itsura ng function? Let's try to graph it here. Ang function natin ay x squared plus 1 raised to 5 2x this is our function. Oh. So, ganyan yung itsura ng ating function. And then we want to, so I know the reason. We want to integrate this one from 1 to -1. So, part of our graph is, part of the function kung saan nasama yung interval natin, yung limits natin ng -1 and 1. May part ang function na nasa baba, no? So, di ba? Remember again that integral, ang application natin ng integration ay area under curve. So, walang problema dito sa upper part, dito sa first quadrant. Kasi, under talaga yung area. Pero dito, kunyari, dyan yung -1, no? Kunyari, dito yung -1, hindi na siya under, above. Ang implication nun, kapag area yung pinag-uusapan, ang mako-compute natin dito ay negative. But of course, since area is always positive, kailangang i-correct natin yun as positive. So, to correct that error, kailangan hatiin natin yung ating area, ang computation ng ating area into two integrals, no? So, i-integrate natin itong function na to from -1 to 0, another integration from 0 to 1. And then the resulting numbers for the two integrations, yun yung ating pagsamahin kung area yung hinahanap natin. So ito yung sinasabi ko. Diba sabi niya 0. But that is impossible because obviously we can see some area. Ang ginawa niya kasi computationally, kaya naging 0 yan. Ito na positive, sinubtract niya dito sa another na same na area. Actually, parehas na area yan. Kaya kung ano man yung area niyan, ganun din yung area na nandito kasi reflective no yung ating function. So, tayo ang magko-correct niyan. So, hindi kaya ng GeoGebra na ma-analyze yun, no? So, instead of integrating it directly from 0 or from -1 to 1, dalawa yung integration na gagawin natin. From -1 to 0 and then 0 to -1. Let's go back to our problem. Balikan natin ito. So anyway, hindi na natin gamitin yung concept na ito. I'll give another example later na applicable yung ganun. So, ganito na lang ang presentation natin. So, before we are able to compute for this, dapat alam natin, di ba? Alam natin yung value ng x squared plus 1 raised to 5 2x dx. Yan. So, indefinite integral muna tayo. Gusto nating malaman yung sagot nito para diretso na tayo dito later. And ang gagawin natin, yung ginawa natin kanina na substitution. Yan. So, this becomes u du. So, ang sagot natin dito ay u squared over 2 plus c. Or, going back to the original variable, ang sagot natin ngayon ay x squared plus 1 tas quantity squared pa all over 2 plus c. Nagpa-plus c tayo kasi parang hiniwalay natin as an indefinite integral. Raised to 5. Bakit u lang, no? Ma-exponent pa tayo kasi pinalitan lang naman natin ito ng u. Palitan natin. So, sorry. So, dapat u raised to 5 du. Anyway, ganun din lang naman, u raised to 6 over 6 plus c. Or x squared plus 1 raised to 6 all over 6 plus c. Now that we have to answer the definite integral, magagamit pa rin natin yung information na ito. How? Copy lang natin yung kanyang antiderivative x plus 1, x squared plus 1 over 6. And then, evaluate natin from -1 to positive 1. Yun. So, again, kung area yung pinag-uusapan, kailangang ihiwalay natin yun sa dalawa. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina. Pero since ganyan lang naman, solve for the following definite integral, no? Hindi area yung pinag-uusapan, okay lang na diretsohin natin yung FTC natin, Fundamental Theorem of Calculus. So we have 1 squared plus 1 over 6. So yung una, minus negative 1 squared plus 1 over 6. So 0 talaga yung makukuha natin dito na sagot. 0 yan. Parehas yung sinusubtract natin. But what if the question is solve for the area bounded by x squared plus 1 raised to 5 2x dx, the x-axis, and the lines x equal to negative 1 and 1. Ihiwalay natin as two separate areas. Gawin kaya natin yun para makita natin dito. Para maintindihan nyo yung sinasabi ko. Yun. So, ang sinasabi ko, dito, yan lang yung sagot. It's diretso. It's diretso lang, no? Integrate mo lang yan. Definite integration. But what if you're doing a problem solving? Area bounded by, ang function natin ay x squared plus 1 raised to 5 2x, bounded by the function x-axis, the x-axis, and the lines x equal to 1 and x equal to negative 1. Nakita natin yung graph kanina, no? Ano yung itsura ng graph natin? Yan. So, kapag negative 1 yan at positive 1 to, ang area na mababound ng functions natin ay itong area. Tapos, meron pa tayong isang line dyan. At itong area. Kasi nga, between the function, x-axis, and the lines. If this is the question, a problem about the area, kailangang ihiwalay natin yan as two separate integrals dividing at x at the origin. Yun yung separation nila, no? So yung kapag compute natin dyan, ang area na hinahanap natin ay integral of x squared plus 1 raised to 5 dx from negative 1 to 0, negative 1 to 0. Tapos, area din ng the same naman na function. May 2x pa pala tayo doon. The same function, but this time from 0 to positive 1. So, hinati lang natin siya. So, I know that negative ang makukuha natin dyan. Bakit? Nasa baba yung area. Kaya dapat, ang gawin natin ay kunin yung absolute value because we are talking about the area. Dito kasi it's just a simple problem. It's not talking about the area. Anyway, ang steps natin ay ganito, no? To compute for this one and to compute for this one, ganito yung gagawin natin. Alam naman natin na ito na yung antiderivative. So let's go directly on substitution or application of FTC, the Fundamental Theorem of Calculus. So substitution, or isulat na lang natin muna as x squared plus 1 over 6 from negative 1 to 0, absolute value niyan, plus, we do it again, x squared plus 1 over 6 from 0 now to 1. Pwede bang idiretso natin ang pag-substitute? Kung i-substitute natin yung 0 dito, 0 squared plus 1 over 6, magiging 1 over 6. Minus, kasi FTC tayo, i-substitute natin yung negative 1 dito sa x squared, positive 1 na makukuha natin dyan. So, 1 plus 1 ay 2 over 6. Yun yung una. Hindi pala siya brace. Absolute value yun. So, absolute value yan. Absolute value. Plus, the same. So, 1 plus 1, that's 2 over 6. Minus, pag i-substitute natin yung 0, 1 over 6 na lang yung maiwan. Ang 1 over 6 minus 2 over 6 ay negative 1 over 6. Ito yung sinasabi ko. Negative 1 over 6. plus, ano makukuha natin dyan? Positive 1 over 6. Kaya naging 0 yung pinakita ni GeoGebra kasi parang ganito yung interpretation niya. FTC na diretso. But if we're talking about the area, kung ito yung tanong, even if it involves the same function, pag ganito yung tanong, i-adjust natin. How? Yung absolute value. So, ang absolute value ng negative 1 over 6 now is positive 1 over 6. So, plus 1 over 6, we have 2 over 6 or 1/3 ang area. Squared units. Yan. So, 1/3 squared units is the answer. Would you like to ask your questions? Naguluhan ba? Questions? Tingnan natin nga yung summative test. Sige. Focus tayo syempre sa C. Paano kung ang definite integral natin pala ay parehas yung limits? For example, kahit napaka-komplikado na yan na x plus 1 raised to 20 dx. Pero from 3 to 3 lang pala yung ating ini-integrate. Ano yung sagot nito? What do you think? Integral of x plus 1 raised to 20 dx. From 3 to from 3 to 3, from positive 3 to positive 3. What do you think is the answer? Anyone?
0.
0. You know, nalagay to as a property dun sa module. Pero bakit 0, no? We do not actually have to anti-differentiate this one to know that it's 0. Because from the FTC, whatever the antiderivative, sabihin nating f, ang substitution natin ay f of 3 at saka f of 3. Adi 0 na yan. 0 agad-agad siya. So that is property. Nakita natin parehas yung limits. Ang sagot natin ay 0 agad. Automatic dapat yon. Would you like to... Actually, I'm done. Unless you want to present your own problem, let's solve it here in the board. Meron Divine Grace, Esther, Jefferson, Nina, and Rachel.
Jefferson, ewan sa list ng problem.
Taga saan pala kayo? Saan kayo ngayon?
Baguio.
Baguio, yung isa.
So, Trinidad.
Trinidad, saan pa?
Pero dito po sa Tuba, Tadyangan.
Tuba. How about sino yun? Lumagto? Esther?
Kabayan po, sir.
Oh, layo mo. Malakas ang internet niyo dyan?
Sir, medyo mahina po. Lalo pag umuulan.
Ayun, naririnig ko yung mga crickets. How about sino yung hindi nagsalita? Si Ninya ba? Sino yung isa? Taga Baguio pala, Trinidad kayo, iba. Yeah. Do you have a problem for us to solve? Parang paulit-ulit na kasi, baka na-boring na kayo. Or what specific problems would you like us to solve?
So yung parang kanina, yung parang gagawin natin dapat may x equal to negative 1 tapos i-substitute natin sa u.
Sige. Mag-isip ako ng ganun. Kaya sine of 2x plus 1 from 0 to pi. Check ko nga muna. (3x squared square root of x cubed plus 1 dx from negative 1 to kahit positive 2 na lang. So again, we cannot anti-differentiate that na dire-diretso lang, no? We need to apply substitution. Let u equal to nasa loob ng radical sign, which is x cubed plus 3. du dx is just 3x squared. The derivative of 1 is 0. So it looks like we have an exact match. I mean, du is exactly 3x squared dx. So meron na tayong ipapalit dyan. Diba? That's du. Tapos ito, palitan natin yung u because in the first place, yun yung inassign natin. Also, we may want to change this one, yung mga limits natin. Bakit? Because we are transforming from variable x to variable u, and we can do that by using the value of u here. So if x is equal to -1, u is equal to -1 cube plus 1 equals -1 plus 1 equal to 0. Also, if x is equal to 2, that's the upper limit kasi, u is equal to 2 cube plus 1. What is 2 cube? It's 8 plus 1, 9. So mukhang ang kapalit ng -1 dito ay 0 at ang kapalit naman ng ng positive 2 ay 9. So let us now rewrite our definite integral. We can rewrite this one as u du, but our new limits now are 0 and 9. Otherwise, pagkatapos nating i-anti-differentiate, kailangan bumalik sa x. Ginawa natin yun para dire-diretso lang yung pag-apply natin ng FTC kanina. So how do we proceed? Apply na natin yung rules natin for integration. So that is square root of u pala, hindi lang u. So ano na yung integral ng square root of u na na-solve natin kanina? Square root of x nga lang yon. 2/3, di ba? 2/3 ano na yun? U raised to 3/2. Yan, yung anong example na yun, ewan ko, nakalimutan ko na. From, kahit naka-u ito, no, in variable u pa rin tayo, hindi tayo bumalik sa x. Pwede na nating idiretso ang pag-apply ng FTC from 0 to 9. Bakit? Kasi lahat yan ay nasa u. It's okay. Pero, kung i-maintain natin kasi itong limits, from this step, pag -1 to 2 pa rin ito, hindi na natin pwedeng gawin yon. Kailangan muna nating ibalik sa x para ang pwede nating gamiting limits pa rin ay -1 to 2. So, di mas diretso ito kasi ang transform na natin dito. So, what should be the answer? So, 2/3 9 raised to 3/2 minus 2/3 0 raised to 3/2. Kasi 0 yung lower limit. 0 raised to a number 0 times 2/3, magiging 0 yan, kabuuan. Ang maiwan na lang ay 2/3 9 raised to 3/2. This part here is just the same as square root of 9 cube, no? Ano ba ang square root of 9 cube? Ang 9 cube ay 729. If you take the square root of that, it's 27. Tapos, 27 divided by 3 ay 9. Kaya ang sagot ay 18 squared. Bakit may squared units? 18 lang. Hindi siya naman siya problem solving on area. So, 18 lang siya. -1. Pero bakit? Iba yung sagot ko. I mean yung... Tama ba lahat ng ginawa natin na arithmetic? Wrong. 18. Tama. 18 nga. What else? Ano pa? Anything from the group?
So, paano ba kapag logarithmic or exponential function mo gagawin?
Do you have a specific problem? Will you please give us a function na gusto mong integrate natin?
So, Saka po yung integral. Kung ano yung A tsaka B.
Oo, ikaw na magsabi.
Integral of 0 from 0 to 1.
Sabihin mo muna yung function.
Negative 12 e raised to x. Tas from
Yun na yun? Yun na yung function mo?
yes,
From?
ko lang. 0 to 1 sir.
0 to 1 lang? At yung dali lang yan. I-factor out mo lang ang negative 12, di ba? Ano na yung integral ng e raised to x? E raised to x din. From 0 to 1. FTC, negative 12, substitution, e raised to 1, minus, ito yung pangalawa, negative 12, e raised to 0. Negative 12e, because e raised to 1 is just e, plus 12, ito, ano yan? A number raised to 0 is 1. Kaya 1 lang yung value ng e raised to 0. Ano na yung sagot natin? Negative 12e plus 12. Yun. I-or lang natin siguro 12 minus 12e. Pwede rin, another form of writing or another way of writing, we can factor out 12. So we write it as 12 times 1 minus e. Any of the three here is a valid final answer. Oh, mag-isip kayo ulit ng logarithmic.
Ito po sir.
Yes. Sige lang.
X squared plus 1 times e
Times e
raised to x cubed plus 3x.
dx. Hindi ko to binigay sa activities nyo ha.
No sir.
Medyo mahaba-haba to. Ano yung limits?
From 2 to 7 sir.
Okay. Adi automatic yan na mag-start tayo sa substitution, no? Try natin. Ano yung isusubstitute natin or ililet yun natin? X cubed plus 3x. Tama ba? X cubed plus 3x?
Yes sir.
Tapos x squared plus 1 yun. Sige. Ang du dx natin ay 3x squared. Meron na siyang derivative, no? Ang derivative ng 3x ay positive 3. So, mukhang ang du natin ay 3x squared plus 3 dx. So, kung palitan natin yan, magiging e raised to u, pero x squared plus 1 dx yun. Hindi pwede nating basta-basta i-substitute na du is 3x squared plus 3, no? Kasi nga 1. So, anong gagawin natin? Kung isulat muna natin yung function na yan, ay ng integral na yan as x squared plus 3 minus 2 hindi. Tama lang. We can factor out pa naman ng 3 doon, di ba? Du is equal to 3 x squared plus 1 dx. Dito. Sakto na 3. Both are 3. We can factor out 3. So that we have du over 3 is equal to x squared plus 1 dx. So sakto nang pwede nating palitan. Yon. So magiging e raised to u, sakto lang, e raised to, nilet yun natin yung buong exponent, Tapos yung x squared plus 1 dx ay nandito. X squared plus 1 dx katapat niya or equal to du over 3. Now, para diretsong magamit natin yung FTC, pwede na nating isolve yung value ng 2 at saka 7 with respect to u or in terms of u. Otherwise, balik tayo ng u mamaya. Yun na lang yung gawin natin. So, if x is equal to 7, what is u? U is equal to 7 cube plus 3, 7. Pero mukhang ano, no? Mukhang ano na yan? Mukhang mataas na number ang makukuha natin kasi 7. Pero sige lang. 7, what is 7 cube? 7 cube. That's 343. 343 plus 21. Plus 21, 364. We do the same for 2. U is 2 cube plus 3 times 2. This is 8 plus 6 or 14. Kaya yung bago na nating limits ay from 14 to 364. Okay. Ituloy na natin. 1/3 is just a constant. We can factor it out. So, bale, e raised to u, du na lang yung nasa loob. From 14 to 364. U. Integral of the e raised to u is still e raised to u. From 14 to 364. 1/3, applying now FTC, 1/3 e raised to 364 minus 1/3 e raised to 14. Actually, we are done, no? Kasi constants na ang mga yan, e raised to 364, we can rewrite it as we can factor out, ano yung common? 1/3, ano pa? E raised to 14. Maiwan ay e raised to, ano yung gagawin natin? I-subtract natin, no? So, 350 minus 1. Ito, or ito. Have you tried answering this one, Mr. Jefferson? Jefferson?
Kasi
Saan mo nakita ito?
online po.
Ayun, that's the answer. Yung mga e, baka kasi ang gawin nyo later, yung e, kagaya niyan, e raised to 14, we can stop there. Kasi ang e raised to 14, it's already a constant. Baka isipin nyo variable, no? E is a number approximately equal to 2.17 something, di ba? Euler's number. So we can stop there. You do not have to give the decimal form kasi kapag i-decimal pa natin yan, approximation lang yun, hindi siya exact answer. What else? How about the others? Okay, so anyway, next week ko ibibigay yun, no? Naka Google form pa rin yun. Kindly inform your classmates about it. Of course, I have to ask you from the solution. So if I were you, isulat nyo na ngayon yung mga solution para pagdating ng form, i-check nyo lang kung may sagot doon or hindi. Sige, if you have no other questions, I think let us end our meet here. Sige, yun lang. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sige.
God bless po.